tuned in to the Two Wins podcast.
Hello, we are back.
We are.
Me and Kendrick Lamar.
Whoa.
Me and Who Killed Kenny.
Me and William Shakespeare.
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, you?
Yeah, I'm pretty decent. Been up to much?
Yeah, just work.
Working away.
What about you?
I've been off work. Been reading.
Yeah.
Been reading a new book called Atomic Habits. That's pretty good. It's just about little changes you can do in your lifestyle to better yourself in the long run.
Nice.
But
Do you know what else you've been up to?
what's that?
We'll play the clip.
Get back. Dogs. Come on, out. Reg, go around. Go on, out, boy. Go on, out. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you actually fucking joking?
Yeah, that clip.
Good one.
Pasta up the floor.
Within a matter of seconds.
Kettle smashed.
Yeah.
Not a good day.
No, it's not.
But do you know what is good?
What?
The topic that we're going to be covering today.
Oh, it is. It is sensational.
So, what are we going to be covering today? Kenny? Just want to check who's recording.
Well, today we're going to be covering a thing we both like, which is UFC, crime, and crazy stories. And obviously, when you hear them things, I think the first man that should come to your brain would be
John Jones.
Lee Murray. All right, you had me there. John Jones is good work as well, but Lee Murray is definitely more crazy than John Jones. And I think you are going to love this because me and Bill researched this. We put a lot of time into it. So,
You know what? It's got a bit of a different layout, hasn't it?
yeah,
Me and you, we're going to be going back and forth.
Yep.
And usually it's one person kind of takes the lead, but no one's taking the lead. We're both piloting this one, so
Exactly that.
let us know if you prefer this kind of style, because we do this more. If you prefer when one of us kind of takes the lead, we do that instead. So
Yeah.
let us know what one you prefer. So let's begin.
Let's begin.
Lee Murray. Today we're going to talk about a man who will cover a lot of topics that me and you enjoy: UFC, crime, and crazy stories.
So let us teach you a thing or two about the man known as Lightning, a terrifying puncher with an iron chin.
Ka-chow. Born on November 12th, 1977, to an English mother, Barbara Murray, who was a hairdresser. Lee's father, Bahin Lamani, was from Morocco and worked in a kitchen.
Lee was initially brought up in England by his mother, whilst his father worked in the Canary Islands. Eventually, he would move over to England and marry Barbara in 1984.
Lee had one sibling, a younger brother called Rakia Murray. We tried to find research on Rakia, but there's nothing. But we did find Lee Murray's mum on Facebook.
We did. And I also think I found, you know, in prison when you get a phone,
Yeah, burner phone.
a burner phone, and you make a Facebook account just to like message your loved ones. I found an account that she was friends with just called El Murray, and it literally had like 5 friends on there. And I was thinking, yeah, that's definitely his burner phone from prison.
Yeah,
So I added it.
exactly. But why is he in prison? We'll find out. Get to it.
So yeah, sorry for that spoiler.
Yeah. Where's we at anyway?
But keep listening to find out.
There you go.
The family lived at 11 Buttmarsh Close, Plumstead. This is where he would meet his friends from local estates and would go on to call themselves the Buttmarsh Boys.
Them fighting the Buttmarsh boys were very territorial. The Buttmarsh boys, they protected their ground, and they aimed to protect Buttmarsh, often leading boys from other areas
To fight.
to fight.
I don't know why I've spelt it like that, but that's an error. Lee was a skinny lad growing up, and when he got in fights, his technique was to charge at someone, windmill in his arms with a crazy look on his face, which combined with his big ears would lead to him getting the nickname Alien. He, of course, despised this nickname.
Old Tarzan situation. Lee didn't have the best relationship with his father growing up, as apparently he was often drunk and described as frightening violent man.
Largely absent from his first 7 years of his life, Brahim demanded his respect and obedience to the point of a police warning for mistreatment. Which he seems like a bit of a cunt, doesn't he?
Yeah, a bit of an arsehole, his dad, isn't he?
He's a wanker.
Eventually, Lightning Lee began to fight back against his father, and the next door neighbour witnessed Lee's father hit Lee, and obviously this pissed Lee off to the max, turning around and knocking his dad clean out. Lee's turned around and knocked his dad straight out.
His neighbour said once he realised he could take down a big man like that, I think that's what changed Lee into the man he is now, a thug. And you got to think that ego boost from the man bullying you from, like, you think from birth he's been bullying you, he's been the man you're scared of, and you've just turned around and knocked him out. That ego boost is gonna change you.
I wonder how old he was there. He don't really say, but I wonder how old he was.
Mm.
Their relationship turned so sour that Lee's father thought that living together was result in one of them dying. So he moved out. Barbara was then left to raise Lee and Ricky by her own.
At this time, Lee started at Eagles Fields Boys' School. Lee enjoyed reading puzzles.
I love reading puzzles.
Lee enjoyed reading and doing puzzles, but he also enjoyed being a naughty little shit.
Lee's teachers would go on to describe Lee as unmanageable and shortly went on to get expelled. It was in this school that he met his future partner in crime, Paul Allen.
And you'll hear about Paul Allen soon. By the time he was expelled from school, he was living on the streets and was an active member of a gang based on the Barnfield estate.
In this gang, stealing and drug dealing was an everyday activity, just usual. He and his friends were allegedly in daily contact with Nigerian drug dealers. Eventually, a turf war would break out, leading to Lee and his gang to win local territory in drug dealing.
Murray was eventually convicted of possession of cocaine and cannabis and was named in newspapers as a notorious London dealer who employed Paul Allen as his right-hand man and had a network of drug runners.
One of the best friends from his time, one of his best friends from this time was a local nut job and a future martial artist named Mark the Beast Epstein. No relation, is there?
Well, you don't know. You could know Jeffrey.
Who claimed that he and Lee sold coke, and Lee made a whole lot of money from it.
Mark the Beast Epstein's would retire with a record of 14 wins, 11 losses, 10 of the 14 wins coming from knockout. Not the best record, but I guess he probably didn't take it seriously considering he's just selling drugs.
Lee Murray proved his strong point was the more violent side of selling drugs, typically to control territory and make sure customers pay.
Murray himself claimed that, quote, some people would probably say I was a bully, but a bully to me is someone that goes for easy targets and people who can't fight back. Me, I went for all targets.
Murray enjoyed spending his spare time by punching people around him in the street, as well as harassing a man who ran the local corner shop. What a little shit.
Murray was sentenced to a short sentence at Feltham. That just sounds so weird. Murray was sentenced to a short sentence. So he was sentenced to a short sentence at Feltham Young Offenders Institution. The first of his custodial sentences were his more minor offences, such as assault and thievery.
Upon emerging from Felton, Murray devoted his energy to the gym, lifting weights and drinking protein shakes to add bulk to his lanky 6-foot frame.
Joining him was Allen, who by then was known as the Enforcer, a nickname presumably given to him from his drug dealing lifestyle.
Murray and Allen were soon using steroids and splashing the money they earned from selling drugs on luxury motors. The police stopped Murray again regularly, and because they suspected he was a drug dealer, they attempted to place an undercover in his gang, but they could not gain enough evidence to prosecute Murray.
He would often troll the police by mocking and intimidating them on the streets, and even sometimes following the officers around in his car. It's just what he's doing in his spare time, he's just terrorising the officers.
Officers at Plumstead Police Station told his biographer that people felt on edge around Lee, and it would be best not to aggravate him, also adding he's a very dangerous man.
Murray's girlfriend gave birth to their first child, Lily Jane, on the 24th of December 1998. Weeks later, Murray was caught up in a turf war with a rival drug dealer that led to the arrest of his best friend Epstein and more than a dozen others. We shouldn't call him Epstein. It just sounds so weird.
Many ended up in prison from this turf war, but Murray, however, got away with it. Epstein said that he was the only one that slipped through the net. He's a lucky boy.
Murray married Rowlands on the 24th of November 2000, listing himself on their wedding certificate as a professional fighter, but Murray would later divorce Rowlands in 2008.
Shortly after dodging the arrest, Lee Murray was introduced to mixed martial arts, and he competed in his first fight on the 5th of December 1999 at an event called Millennium Brawl that was held at Hemel Hempstead Pavilion.
His opponent was Rob Hudson, and Murray knocked him out in the first round, leading to the event promoter to say he was so quick they called him Lightning Lee Murray. So that a lot of the time with fighters, they just get a nickname thrown at them. It's not often you really get to choose.
Murray's successful debut led him to begin start training seriously. So after his first win, he thought, fuck me, I could actually do something with this.
Yep.
He would jog around the Abbey Wood estate and attend two gyms, London Shoot Fighters for wrestling and Peacock's Gym for boxing.
Martin Bowers, who ran Peacocks with his brothers, Tony and Paul, described Murray as a very nice boy.
At the time that Lee Murray was training at Peacock's Gym, the Bowers brothers were planning a series of robberies, the biggest being a brazen raid on the high-security warehouse at Gatwick Airport.
The scheme involved disguising themselves as security officers using a fake Brinks-Mat van to get into the depot and then stealing $1 million in foreign currency.
After the Scotland Yard first found out about the robbery, the three brothers were all arrested and jailed, and it has been speculated that while Murray had no prior knowledge about the plan, the schematics that were later revealed publicly have given some inspiration.
Murray had 4 professional fights in the year 2000. The first was the 12th of March encounter with Mike Tomlinson. Murray won the fight via a Kimura submission in the first round, but it was in February 2004 that he would go on to share some of the events surrounding the fight.
Murray told the story of watching Prince Nassim Hamid vs Vayani Balagu fight at a pub the night before his own match at Tomlinson. When a man stood in front of Murray and then accused him of stealing his seat, after being asked to move, Murray knocked the man out and his friend unconscious.
He would follow the KOs by knee strikes to knock out a bartender who rushed to break up the fight. The following morning, the day of his fight with Tomlinson, Murray was unable to close his left hand after taping the hand. Murray relied solely on his good right hand.
Lee stated that he, quote, caught him with a few good rights, and he rocked me. Lee stated that he, and quote, caught him with a good. Hey,
You got this.
Why can I not do this one? I'm sorry. Lee stated he, and quote, caught him with a few good rights, and he was rocked, so he took me down, then caught him with a key lock on the ground and won the fight. After that, I went to the hospital and got my hand plastered up. It was broke in 2 places.
Murray's next two bouts took place on the 17th of June 2000 in a tournament fought at an Extreme Challenge 34. Murray defeated his opponent, Chris Albandia, by ankle lock in the first round.
Murray later said that he thought Albandia was a kickboxer because he was wearing tie shorts, so he started the fight out with leg kicks.
When Albandia surprised Murray by performing a single leg takedown, Murray said he sprawled and took him to the right side of the cage, where I was kneeing him and punching consistently.
Lee would claim that he heard the ankle of Albandia crack, and it was clearly snapped as he couldn't put any weight on it.
The victory took Murray to the second round of the tournament, but he lost by armbar to Canadian submission specialist Joe Doerksen in the opening round.
Murray said that when he went into the final, he was so happy and excited about winning the first fight that he lost focus. Lee would later say that he learned a lot from that fight.
Murray's next fight was just weeks later against Danny Rushton, a fighter who had gained a reputation for his toughness due to competing in brutal MMA competitions in Russia.
The match ended up in a no contest because Rushton collapsed in the first round due to extortion. We feel like Lee should have been given the win from that. He really should have. If someone's collapsed in the ring.
Yeah, from exhaustion. That's just could be them gassing out, unless it's like a serious heart problem or something.
Well, I mean, when was this? Like 2000 or 2001, around that time. So.
On the 11th of March 2001, Murray fought to a draw against Chris Bacon at Millennium Brawl 2. However, he would win his next fight with a first-round knockout of Gary Warren at Millennium Brawl 3 on July 1st.
On the 11th of September 2004, Lee fought future UFC middleweight champion Anderson fucking Silva. Lee Murray fought Anderson Silva. In the Cage Raid 8 for the vacant middleweight title. Silva won by unanimous decision, so he went the distance.
Yeah. And bear in mind that this was a young and hungry Anderson Silva, and Lee went to war with him and actually done really well, in my opinion, considering that Anderson, or the Spider, is often called the GOAT of MMA. So to take a prime Anderson Silva to a unanimous decision, you've got to have some skill about it.
Definitely. And I feel like it's so annoying. If it was just fine-tuned a little bit more, even in that fight, you can just see the potential.
Yeah.
You can just...
Of course.
He's insane. Murray's record was 8 wins and 2 losses and 1 with no contest, but it really should have been 9 wins and 2 losses, in our opinion. In similar promotions before receiving a contract with the UFC. In smaller promotions before receiving a contract from the UFC.
And in his UFC debut, he had one of the best walkouts ever. Wearing the iconic Hannibal Lecter mask, he defeated Jorge Rivera by triangle choke armbar in the first round. This was Murray's only fight in the UFC due to complications with his US visa due to an ongoing criminal prosecution against him in the UK for assault after he attacked a man during a road rage incident. And I just want to note onto that it was actually... So Christmas Day, he's got his newborn baby in the car and his girlfriend, and a car actually drove into him. And obviously that's not exactly a car you want to fucking crash into.
Yeah.
So Lee got out of the car and beat him to near death. The man was in a coma. It was quite bad.
This led Murray signing to the Cage Rage promotion, which also short-lived due to his injuries from a stabbing, preventing Murray from continuing his MMA career.
So Lee was actually stabbed quite a fair few times. There was one point where he got stabbed in a nightclub and he beat like 3 people up. And then 2 weeks later, he returned to the same nightclub. And funnily enough, the same thing happened. He got stabbed, but this time he got like stabbed in his head, got stabbed in his heart, in his lung. So that's why he would retire. Witnesses claim Murray was involved in a scuffle with the UFC light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz outside a nightclub in London after UFC 38 in July 2002.
Lee allegedly fought Ortiz. Murray said he knocked Ortiz out, and the claim was backed up by, of all people, the legend, Matt Hughes. The story goes that Matt Hughes tried to introduce Lee Murray to Tito Ortiz, and Tito Ortiz was really ignorant towards Lee.
And Lee didn't take too well to Tito's attitude. Things got heated, and Tito went to throw a punch at Lee, and Lee landed a punch flush on Tito's face, knocking him out after he dodged it, and it apparently hit him up with like 6 follow shots.
Chuck Liddell also presented at the States. He didn't see Tito get knocked out, and Tito himself also claimed he wasn't knocked out. So it's a case of it's two versions of the story pretty much. But I don't know. A lot of people do
At
say
that time, Chuck Liddell was like a company man, and he was best friends with Tito Ortiz. Well, they was good friends. So
I heard the reason they got pissed off when didn't he not shake his hand or something? I swear that's what originally started.
I think it was something to do with the way he greeted him. He kind of just went like lifting his head up, didn't really. Anyway,
he suffered. Oh.
On the 28th of September 2005, Murray was hospitalised after being stabbed in a brawl during a birthday party of British model Lauren Pope.
So he's still getting stabbed about, even after his UFC, even after he's done with his MMA. He suffered a punctured lung and a damaged artery. According to the doctor who's performed the life-saving surgery on Murray, he was brought back to life 4 times during the operation.
But now we get to the juicy bit. The Securitas depot robbery. And this one is close to home, so I don't know. It's down to you. Obviously, we know where the locations are, so if you see one where you think it's really close to home, I mean, there is literally ones that are like a 5-minute drive.
I ain't scared.
All right.
Lee Murray and his gang of friends had been planning the robbery for months. Lee's good friend, Heisanaj, actually managed to get a job in the Securitas depot, and he would have spy cameras put on him by Lee.
Whilst Heisanaj was training, he would often ask people about the security measures of the facility, and he would pass the information on to the rest of the gang. This was a key part in forming the plan.
Lee was eventually once stopped by the police and questioned because he was caught in his car with 2 of his mates scouting the outside of the security buildings.
Several days before the robbery, Murray went clubbing in London, and the next morning he crashed his yellow Ferrari on the New Kent Road.
Murray fled the scene and was arrested by 4 police officers nearby. He was charged with the assault in a case that never actually came to trial.
But he would make a silly mistake as he stupidly abandoned his car and left behind 2 burner phones containing vital evidence that would help in the future prosecution.
Right. I rate Lee Murray.
Yeah.
But running away from a yellow Lambo, there's not going to be many people in that area that own yellow Lamborghinis, are there?
He left 2 burner phones, but
not
he's
just
drunk.
That, he also left that. Oh, he's drunk.
Yeah, he's drunk.
But he just crashed a yellow Lambo. Like the police ain't going to know that.
It was a Ferrari.
Like the police ain't going to know that a yellow Ferrari belongs to him. There's not going to be many Ferraris.
He probably had a number plate Murray X.
Yeah. Murray had accidentally recorded himself on one of the phones talking to his mates about how to carry out one of the robberies.
And in the early evening of Tuesday, the 21st of February 2006, Dixon was driving home along the A249 when he was pulled over just outside Stockbury, a village northeast of Maidstone, by what is presumed was an unmarked police car.
The Volvo S60 had flashing blue lights in its grille. One of the 2 uniformed officers came to Dixon's window asking him to turn off his engine and leave the keys in the ignition. I've been reading a book all day, so
yeah,
that's why I'm jumbling everywhere.
When you stare at like words for too long, it just fucks your eyes. I keep doing that as well. Dixon would then follow the officer's order to step out the car and to sit in the other car, where he was then handcuffed. His car was moved off the road and the Volvo travelled west on the M20 motorway to the Westmoreland bypass.
The gang actually drove him to a police station before revealing their plan and threatened him with a gun at Mereworth. He was tied up and put into a white van which drove to Elderton Farm near Staplehurst.
How fucked is that they actually... So they've captured him in the back of the car and then have drove him to a police station pretending that he's actually going in for something, and they're like, Yeah, actually, we're trolling you. You're fucking being kidnapped, mate. The two men, impersonating police officers, would then drive to Dixon's home in Herne Bay and spoke to Lynn Dixon, telling her that her husband had crashed his car and that she and her son should accompany them to the hospital as quickly as possible.
When she got into the car, Lynn Dixon soon realised it was not a real police car and the men had told her she was being abducted. They then took her to the farm as well.
Colin Dixon was then interrogated about the layout of the depot and warned at gunpoint that the lives of his family members depended upon his actions.
Around 1 a.m. on Wednesday, the 22nd of February 2006, 3 vehicles headed towards the depot. Lynn Dixon and her son were held in the back of a lorry, and Colin Dixon and the other gang members travelled in a Vauxhall and a Volvo.
The vehicles were then split up, and the Volvo arrived at the depot at 1:20. Dixon and a gang of members dressed as police officers got out the car and walked towards the pedestrian entrance. Dixon rang the doorbell and looked through the window at the control room operator.
And instead of asking why the fuck Dixon was returning at night, or why he was with an officer, the Mongy operator opened the door and let the two men walk through the airlock into the building.
The rest of the gang now entered the depot. The men's faces were hidden by balaclavas and they were armed with handguns, shotguns, AK-47 rifles, and Scorpion SMGs.
Dixon's told staff to comply with the gang's command, and 14 were tied up. Nobody was brave enough to press the alarm.
I wouldn't be either. The 7 members of the gang attempted to load metal cages full of banknotes into the lorry, but found out they were too heavy.
So one of the criminals tried to drive a forklift, and the rest shoved the hostages out the way. It was so difficult to maneuver the forklift, and security workers had ordered to drive it. So they got the security workers to pretty much drive it for them.
How fucked is that?
Yeah, we're nicking your shit. Can you load it for us as well?
Yeah.
When he kept deliberately crashing it, Dixon was told to use the bomb truck. He can.
That seems like something out of a fucking film. You know, like the typical bank robbery goes wrong. They're like, get a fucking forklift and drive it. And they chose someone that don't know how to drive the forklift. I ain't got my forklift license yet.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Have you seen what? Someone was like, "Hello, baby." Who's that fucking actor?
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. Have you seen when he's trying to reverse that fucking little vehicle through the corridor and he's doing a million turns?
And then it's just like, right, you're taking too long, get the fucking pump truck out. When Dixon was pumping the pump truck up, one of the men became suspicious and pointed a gun at his head.
Due to being frustrated by how slow the progress was, the other gang members grabbed the bundles of money in their hands and filled up shopping trolleys.
The criminals stole a total of £52,996,760 in used and unused banknotes, which is impressive until you find out that another 154 million would not fit in the lorry and they just had to leave it behind.
So it could have been over 200 million.
Yeah.
Well, 206 million.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The staff workers were left locked up inside their empty cages, including Lynn Dixon and her son. No alarm had been set off, and the gang ordered the staff to stay still until they left at 2:44.
At 3:15, when they were sure the robbers had gone, the staff triggered an alarm which called the police. Police arrived and began the investigation by interviewing the staff and immediately taking their clothes as well as DNA profiles.
The following day, Thursday 23rd of February 2006, Securitas and the insurers offered a reward of $2 million for any information about the heist, which Crime Stoppers stated was the largest reward offered in the UK at the time.
That's mad, isn't it? Securitas gave the Bank of England $25 million as an initial reimbursement. Kent police said the heist had been meticulously planned by organised crime.
By the evening of 23rd of February, 2 arrests had been made in South London. A man aged 29 and a woman aged 31 were detained at separate houses on suspicion of conspiracy to commit robbery.
A third person, a 41-year-old woman, was arrested at a branch of the Portman Building Society in Bromley on suspicion of handling stolen goods. This woman was innocent, and she told The Guardian she was planning to sue the police on account of the most distressing experience of my life.
As the news of the robbery reached newspapers, Hisnaj was told he had the day off work and went to see Lavellas at the Assembly Hall Theatre in Royal Tunbridge, Wales, with his girlfriend.
The same day, police discovered some of the vehicles implicated in the robbery. A former parcel force van had been left at the Hook and Hatchet pub in Maidstone.
A Volvo and a Vauxhall Vectra has been abandoned near Leeds Castle. Dixon's Nissan Almera was located at the Cook's Horse pub in Detlin. So they've just dumped all the vehicles at random pubs or random locations around Kent.
Yeah. And the next day, Friday 24th of February, discarded metal cages and other objects from the crime scene were found at a farm near Detlin.
2 further arrests were made after the police became suspicious of a white van. In the van, they found 2 balaclavas and 1.3 million in cash, bulletproof vests, and a Scorpion SMG.
So that's a bit of a giveaway. Yeah. That's a whole lot of evidence. That's a bit of a rookie mistake as well.
Yeah.
The following day, the lorry which had transported the loot was located at a hire centre and Eldon Farm was searched. At the farm, £30,000 in stolen notes was found in the boot of a car and £105,600 hidden under a dead tree in the orchard.
That's gutting. He thought he got away with hiding the big amount, didn't he?
That's not even a big amount, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's not a lot, really.
But I want to know how much they actually recovered out of all of them.
You'll find out.
There's no way they could have recovered all that. 4 days after the heist, Lee Murray and his childhood friend Alan fled the UK after visiting Amsterdam. They travelled to Morocco, where they spunked the money on houses, jewellery and narcotics.
So that's a smart thing to do. And also spending the money on houses, they thought that, well, once you bought a house, it's your name. You can't really take that. Back in the UK, the police were still on the hunt and would open a shipping container containing 9 million in cash, and they also found 50,000 in a bin bag.
By the 3rd of March, the number of people arrested had grown to 14. 2 days later, the police discovered 8 million in a garbage in South Borough.
In a garage.
Just 8 million. Oh, 8 million in a garage.
South Borough, yeah.
Got to turn the beanie off, getting too hot here.
I know. In June, Lee Murray and his childhood friend Alan were both eventually arrested in Morocco after a 3-month investigation.
Although he was only found after some random phoned the armed unit for assuming Lee had a gun on him whilst in a shopping centre.
That is mad. So they was looking for him for ages, and then some civilians like, that man looks a bit sketchy. It looks like he's packing a gun. And so the armed police turned up and they trapped him. Moroccan police said they had to use, and quote, specialist techniques to arrest the suspects because they were specialists in martial arts and firearms.
Kent police said in a statement that they had been tracking Murray for 3 months and would be seeking to extract him from Morocco. It's important to note that there are no treaty between the UK and Morocco, so there's no laws stating that they have to legally give him over.
Which is, that's part of the reason why he moved
to Morocco and thought we'd get away with it.
Yeah, but things that in the end that weren't a smart move.
Remember, his dad's in Morocco too, so he's got links there already.
Yeah, and obviously Morocco prisons aren't as good as UK prisons are. Arguably, if you want to go to prison, you'd go to a UK one.
Yeah, more relaxed, some would say.
They were charged with possession of drugs, forced imprisonment, and assaulting the police. By the year's end, Kent police had recovered only 21 million.
And Kent police also asked the Home Office for at least 6 million to cover both investigating the case and future money spending on trials. And by 2007, 36 people had been arrested.
In June 2009, Murray attempted to escape Saleh prison. Small sores were found in a plate of biscuits in Murray's cell by another prisoner who broke into it. Prison officials believed Murray was planning to cut through the iron bars of his cell window with the saws, and he had like a disciplinary for being not like a bad boy in prison. So they locked him away in the choker, and then obviously whilst you're away, people are like, I'm gonna fucking rob you of shit, because he got a lot of. Obviously, when you got a lot of money in a Moroccan prison, like Lee has, he can get whatever he wants. He can get food, he can get like fresh clothes, trainers, and the other prisoners get jealous, so they want to take that.
And to make the escape through the small window easier, Murray had lost his shit ton of weight. Murray was in a different cell at the time as a punishment because he was caught with a laptop and 5 kilos of drugs, even in prison.
He was convicted of the £53 million crime in Morocco court in a Moroccan court in June 2010. Kent police said Murray must serve 10 years in jail in Morocco for his involvement, but this sentence was then extended to 25 years on the 30th of November 2010.
A decade after the robbery in 2016, 32 million has still not been recovered. In the opinion of a former detective, the cash would have been likely sorted into organised crime networks.
On the 5th of April 2023, this year, Lee Murray will turn 57, but the age isn't stopping him as he wants to become the UFC champion, which is fucking insane. He's going to turn 57 by the time he gets out, and he said he wants to become a UFC champion.
Nearly 60.
Yeah.
In a documentary, can you believe he nearly only done 10 years? So he would have been out 15 years, no, 5 years ago.
Fucking mental, innit?
In a documentary called Chasing Lightning, Lee Murray said, "My plan is to open up my own gym. It depends, obviously, when I get out of here. If I can't fight, then I'm obviously going to be still involved in MMA."
And he also said, "There is no way I could live outside and not be involved in MMA. Fighting's my life. Fighting's in my blood. If I'm not there fighting myself, I'm going to be taking people in there. One way or another, I need to win that UFC title. My story isn't finished. This isn't the end." And, well, it is the end, because that's the end of pretty much what we've got to say about Lee. And I find it fucked that he's saying he wants to become UFC champion. If not, he's going to train someone to become a UFC champion.
Yeah, and he's still in Moroccan prison to this day, obviously.
Yeah.
Still in there.
Let's cut the shit. It's a bit obvious that the 32 million left over was obviously spread amongst networks, or put in places that certain people could find. There was no way they was going to steal money and not know what to do with it. And probably when he gets out, he'll see a lot of that money.
I wouldn't say a lot of it. He'll probably see some of it.
Well, you don't, if he's invested and stuff like that.
You got to remember he's been away for 25 years.
Yeah, that's true. He's probably spunked a lot of it in prison.
Yeah, it costs a lot to be in prison and need your shit.
Yeah.
Unless you got money before you go away, apparently you get fuck all. Unless you got people helping you out, what's it, like 5p an hour to untangle headphones?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And you work like all week and you can afford a Snickers bar. By the end of it, it's rough out there.
Yeah, it's not good.
But we hope you enjoyed this more in-depth documentary.
In my opinion, that's one of the fucking best ones we've done.
He actually ranks higher than Galvarino on the badass scale.
Are we putting him on the nut job scale?
No, I was just joking, but he actually probably does rank higher than Galvarino. He'd probably take Galvarino in a fight.
And do you know what? In this podcast as well, I'm going to add a clip, because after Lee Murray's UFC debut, Joe Rogan goes up to him, and obviously he knows the beef with Tito Ortiz, like all the drama that's happened. So he goes, "What do you think about Tito Ortiz? Would you fight him?" or something along them lines. And Lee Murray goes, "I'll fight anyone, I don't care." And apparently that's where Conor McGregor would later get inspiration from his speech. But he's quite a scary man.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's a unit.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes Lee Murray.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that one.
I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave... My chair just nearly broke. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. or the max amount of stars, whatever it is. Subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. Anything coming in the works?
Yeah, I've got a few things in the works. So I don't want to spoil anything. I don't really want to spoil anything. I did say last time that we'd go over some of the biggest crimes from Kent.
Right.
Obviously not that one now. That probably is one of the biggest crimes from Kent.
That is actually the biggest cash grab out of the whole of the UK, and for a while it was the biggest cash grab out of the whole of the world. And they almost successfully got away with it.
Yeah. Oh,
Imagine that
is
being
it worth the time? If it was 10 years, in my opinion, 25, it's a long time.
I don't see why he tried to escape when he's literally got like barely any years left.
He probably, when you actually think about it, if it weren't for the stabbing, that fateful stabbing in that club, he probably would have earned more than that in the UFC, especially with how big it is now. And if he was still an OG like Anderson Silva, he probably would have earned well over that. But
and Dana did like him as well.
This Lee Murray is the definition of wasted potential.
Yeah, I guess so. But he's going to make a good fucking film one day. Right, that is fucking insane. Can we just end it there now?
Yeah. Later, guys.
Fuck. You are fucking insane. You've literally just farted on the fucking mic, that podcast.